Good afternoon, everyone. It is now 2:05 p.m., and we are back from recess. Before we begin the examination of the nominee, Mr. Rufo T. Mafnas for CUC Board, I'd like to remind everyone to please turn off all your electronic devices at this time, and also to remind everyone that we are broadcasting live on Facebook and the NMI Legislature YouTube channel. For those who may not know the Legislative Bureau professionals assisting with this committee today, we have our legal counsel, Mr. Joe Bermudez, the legislative assistant, Mr. Devin Macaranas. We have our IT manager, Mr. Jonathan Diaz, and to keep order and decorum, we have our sergeant at arms, Mr. Ben Terlahi to my right. At this time, if there are no objections from the members, I would like to go back to public comments. Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to invite Mr. Oscar Babauta and the nominee to please come and join us in the chamber. Thank you. And Mr. Babauta, you may proceed when you are ready.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, dan Jesus Mose Talumbiay para todo samjo. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
para todo samjo. I bring greetings with the light rain showers from the west, and that will cool off the afternoon. For the record, Madam Chair, members, my name is Oscar Mbabauta again, the Special Assistant for the Administration for the Office of the Governor on behalf of Governor Honor I. Palacios and that of Lieutenant Governor David Mundo Apateng. I thank you for the opportunity, Talumbiay, once again to appear before you today. I'm here to introduce officially for your disposal this afternoon the Governor's nominee for the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation Board of Directors, none other than Mr. Rufo T. Mafnas, who is currently present in the chamber to my right. Mr. Mafnas has over 34 years of experience in both the public and private sectors, serving as technical analyst for the Department of Finance in 1989 before moving to the Marianas Visitors Bureau later that year. He then worked as general manager for the Travelers Lodge. I believe this is a family-owned and hotel from 1990 to 1997, before serving as the executive director for the Saipan and Northern Island Council, Municipal Council, from 1997 to 1998. He then moved to the Division of Revenue and Taxation and performs research and appeals in that branch as the manager from 1988 to 1989 before becoming the director for the division from 1999 to 2001. From there, he served as the controller for the Commonwealth Utility Corporations, to which he's currently been nominated now from 2001 to 2005, before moving to the Office of Public Auditor in 2003 as an analyst manager until 2005. He then returned as a controller under Micronesian Resort Incorporation, better known as Palm Resorts, from 2009 to 2010, before serving as the Chief Financial Officer from 2010 to 2011. In that year, he is currently with the R&R or RR Associates and Associates Corporation, dealing with financial issues since 2004, where he personally served as the operating officer and is currently the business relation officer of the United Micronesian Development Association, known as UMDA, where he is part of the organization since 2010. Mr. Mafnas has a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration, majoring in accounting with a minor in Information System, also from Baylor University in 1987. He is currently himself a certified accountant by the American Institute of Certified Accountants. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apateng places their full trust and confidence in Mr. Mafnas to serve on the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation Board of Directors, and hopefully, with his experience and expertise, can bring up to par our lone Commonwealth Utility Corporations utility uh, services. His long history of professional experience, credentials, and commitment to serving the Commonwealth in this capacity makes him a very, very, very viable candidate. And we kindly ask for your expeditious approval as you deliberate on Mr. Mafna's credentials and anything that is required of this August body. We thank you from the administration, Madam Chair and members. Si Jesus Masi Gilisod and buenas tardes para Pagonani. And hope to see you soon. Again, thank you. Buenos dias.
Sus Moses and buenos dias, Mr. Babalta. And if, as I mentioned earlier, there were no objections raised, we will now go back to public comments so that we can allow the viewing public here present this morning or this afternoon in this chamber to provide comments for the nominee. The floor is now open. And if you wish to make public comments, I ask that you state your name for the record and the entity you represent. And if you have any written comments to submit, please submit it to the Sergeant at Arms. The floor is open.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Babauta and the Senate members of this body. My name is Bettina G. Terlahi, also known as Betty. I am submitting a letter in support for Rufo T. Mafnas, the nominee of the Honorable Governor Arnold I. Palacios to the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation Board of Directors. Mr. Mafnas is a reputable and respected professional in the CNMI. He has worked several government departments and agencies, including the Office of the Public Auditor, and has held many executive positions for several companies with titles such as Comptroller, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Executive Officer, Business Relations Officers, Director, Operating Officer, and presently still performs as an executive for UMDA and RR and Associates Corporation. His experience is tremendous and certainly would be beneficial to CUC should he return as a board director. Mr. Mafnas is also a certified public accountant. In general, accountants are smart, and he is an expert in his field. He has gone through demanding institutional programs, passed numerous rigorous exams, and must continue his professional education and development to keep his certification valid. He must follow a code of ethics to include integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, confidentiality, professional behavior, and independence. These standards are critical when discerning matters at the board level, most especially while coping with matters that are with ambiguity, conflicts of interest, and protecting the public interests. I first experienced Mr. Mafnas as a professional when he came on board as the controller of CUC in 2001. For the 2 years that he managed the financial sections of the corporation, he mentored staff and made sure employees under him performed to standards. I have to mention that I witnessed him mentoring other managers as well. He demonstrated leadership, ran a tight but smooth operation, enforced internal controls, exercised accountability, and recommended strategies and policies for good financial health. He made decisions independently because he believed they were right and is not intimidated of oppositions to decisions before him. He understands the unique requirements of the utilities operations and the complex data and analysis required for a long-term financial plan that would allow the corporation to recover its needs and grow as it should. Mr. Mafnas, should he be confirmed, I believe he will continue to perform as such and in the best interest of the corporation and its stakeholders. In closing, I humbly ask you and your Senate committee for a favorable confirmation of Mr. Rufo T. Mafnas to the CUC Board of Directors. Thank you for this opportunity to submit my comments and for your consideration. Mrs. Masi.
Mr. Lahi. The floor is still open.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of this honorable committee. I am Richard Villagomez. I am here personally in support of the nomination of Mr. Mafnas to serve as the director of CUC's board. I believe his credentials speak for themselves, and in many ways, they exceed the challenging requirements and expectations of that role. I've worked with him and I've had many discussions on various topics, current issues, economics, finances, and utilities, and other topics. He has many good qualities, but the ones pertinent to being a director of the board is he is very thorough in analyzing things, weighing all factors to arrive at a well thought out, solid conclusions. Also, he has a unique ability to shift his view or perspective of issues or topics from all angles, from the big picture down to the details that make up the big picture, an ability that I believe is important for a director to have in making policy decisions. But equally important is he is honest, ethical, hardworking, and is always concerned about the effects decisions might have on the people we serve. For these reasons and the credentials that you've already been provided, I believe he is among the best qualified to serve as a director on the CUC board. Thank you, Madam Chair and honorable members.
Thank you, Mr. Villagomez. The floor is still open.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and fellow senators. My name is Francisco Semanada Jr. I'm here as a public and private citizen and in support of Mr. Mafnas. I've known Mr. Mafnas for over 50 years. I think I like to say that I represent the class of '83, which is he is our salutatorian from Mount Carmel. We all know his credentials, but one thing that hasn't been mentioned is that he's also, as his brother-in-law Richard Villagomez says, that he always put the people in mind, and he has the ability to balance his professional life and private life. I think a lot of his success is due in part to his very loving and supportive wife, Jenny, who's here in the audience, and his two daughters. And another interesting fact about Mr. Mafnas, everybody says how smart he is. I can debate with him on that, but traditionally, when you go to college, you graduate in 4 years. Mr. Mafnas attended 3 colleges and graduated in 3.5 years. He visited me in San Diego for Christmas break, and here I am still struggling. And he's celebrating Christmas, but he also forgot to mention, it was, hey, bro, I'm done with school. What? You're done? 3.5 years. So that's something to say, because, he went to University of Hawaii, Cornell College in Iowa, and then he got his bachelor's degree in Baylor University in Waco, Texas. Also, Madam Chair, you may be, well, you may have witnessed, and Mr. Robert Torres, he was also a very good athlete. We've had a whole audience of Mount Carmel students, and when we go up against the powerhouse of Marianas High School, in that time in 1983, there was only 2 high school, and Mr. Mafnas, in his playing basketball, he shot the winning shot, and the whole school erupted because we're talking about what 300, 200 high school students versus 1,000 high school students in Marianas, and forever his winning shot will always be etched in a lot of Mount Carmel students. So he's very humble, and I asked this body to. I have no doubt that he'll be expeditiously confirmed, the writings on the wall. But yes, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ada. In fact, I was there watching that game in 1983 when MCS took the championship that year. The floor is still open. If there are none, we will proceed. I also want to state for the record that we did receive letters of support from Dr. Dallas PV Jr., the CUC, acting CUC Executive Director, and also Ms. Janice A. Tenorio, the chairwoman of the CUC board. Mr. Mafnas, there can be no doubt that your educational achievements and your professional experience, including your institutional knowledge of CUC, as you were once an employee there, meets or exceeds the expectations of a policymaker that is required to be a board member of CUC. However, each member of this committee has an obligation to ask probing questions of the nominee to determine your character, your not stature, but your character above and beyond your educational and professional experience. And that is why we are here today. And at this time, I would like to ask you to please rise so that the legislative assistant can administer the oath.
Mr. Rufo T. Mafnas, you do solemnly swear under the. I'm sorry, could you raise your. Okay. You do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now give you the floor to make any opening remarks if you wish to do so.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank my family and my friends who came out here to support me. Most especially my wife, who, when I asked her, when she knew that I was going to be nominated, she gave me her full support for whatever decision I made. And so my wife, Annalisa Mafnas, also known as Jenny. I want to also thank the governor and the lieutenant governor, Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang, for their confidence in me. You heard from Oscar and Betty that I was once an employee of the Utilities Corporation, and I did manage an important part. I was the controller and had the opportunity to work with very good professionals over there. I think Betty oversold my qualities but thank you anyway. Today, I know that I understand that there are some local professionals as well as outsiders who are guiding and aiding the utilities company. I look forward to being a part of that team, to be inquisitive, and to try and accomplish the mission of affordable, reliable utilities services. And I hope that my membership in the board, if approved by this body, would work towards that goal. And I look forward to the discussion today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mafnas. At this time, I will open the floor to any of the members who may wish to ask questions of the nominee. Recognized Senator Dennis Mendiola.
It seems like none of the senators want to ask questions. That's probably the writings on the wall that somebody had mentioned earlier. But just again, we just are required by our oath not to just go down this line of just questioning, just to make sure that some of your statements back the credential that you submitted. So I just wanted to kind of just get a general purview of what you're interested in accomplishing with CUC if confirmed as a board member.
You know, one of the things that I hope to accomplish or be a part of the accomplishment is to try and be more transparent with our rate settings, and try and reach that ultimate goal, that mission of affordable, efficient, reliable utilities for all areas, power, water, and sewer. It's sometimes even a mystery for me how things are computed now. And so we need to be more transparent with that so the public could chime in. And so as part of my mission, it would be probably to be more transparent with the rate setters. I know there is no utility or board, PUCs at this point, but I think they're an important and integral part in probing the corporation's computations of utility services.
Thank you for that. I like that we're thinking about, our citizens or our people in terms of trying to come up with a better rate so that, it's, given the fact that we're already in a financial crisis, the state of, anybody paying the reduction of hours is going to make it challenging. So I just wanted to get your thought on the fuel adjusted rate. I mean, can we do away from that, or is it manageable for us as a government agency to actually weigh that and probably go down a little bit more just to make it a little bit more affordable for our people?
I really wish I could answer that question affirmatively, but without understanding the things, the computations behind that particular rate or that particular charge, we know that it's supposed to be a pass-through. The real question behind that pass-through is, are we passing through the appropriate costs? I mean, an inefficient power plant or inefficient delivery of utilities, in the end, we're passing on that fuel used for that inefficient delivery. And so at this point, I don't think that's a feasible maneuver or option, but it is important that we look at it and try and find the reduction in that particular charge.
I appreciate that. Yeah, very true. The fuel price is going up. So, of course, it's just one of those outcries that we got to make sure that, we address. Given the fact that the fuel rate is going up, I don't see, it'll be very challenging for CUC to just reduce just because, it doesn't make sense for us to reduce the rate, especially with the fuel cost going up. So I just wanted to make sure that I asked that question at least so that we can try and find alternate source of income to try and reduce these rates just to make it a little bit more affordable. And given your answer, I understand that you want to actually understand first how these rates are computed and how does it come out. So I'm not gonna go too much into detail as far as the rates, just because I'm taking that, or I'm finding that you're still new to this and you're gonna go in there and try and find out all these rates set in stone. So, Madam Chair, I yield for now.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola. Is there any other member? Recognize Senator Paul Manglone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Buenas para ogos and familia siya manatong na manggayigi gallery.
Buenas, Senator.
Um, Actually, I'm happy that you have accepted this appointment. I think we need a lot of help with board members like you at CUC to help out with the tremendous challenges that they have at CUC, as we can see in the transition report of which you were a member, I understand, right? Or you were not? Oh, but you probably had the opportunity to read over the transition report, no?
That's with some of the members.
Okay. I'm happy that you are very concerned with transparency with rate setting, and your comment that PUC plays an integral part in probing the utility services. So, in your opinion, why is it that we can never get people to go in that board, or why is it that past administrations never seem to see the importance of having a PUC board? Or do you see do you really believe in PUC, if it were fully operational, helping with regards to rate setting, and based on your, I guess, your past experience? Can you elaborate on PUC, please?
I mean, it's for the
I know you're here for CUC, but I just want to pick your brain on PUC,
I
Public
do
Utility Commission.
I do think they play an important role. I mean, for the utilities to by itself present what their plans are would, without a second eye. I mean, if the utilities were to set the rates based on their plans and not put it to the public to a third eye or a second eye, it would be tantamount or equivalent to a self-serving rate. I think the utility boards, the PUC board, would give us that comfort, the consumer, the comfort that another party is checking the reasonableness of the corporation's plans. And sometimes we have grandiose plans to build power plants more than we need. And the PUC board can put a stop to that.
It acts as a check also to CUC's plans, and especially if they want to buy, I guess, generators or those equipments that are in the tens of millions, right? So they evaluate whether it's something that they should go into based on their financial situation. So you agree that it's a body that we need to activate, in your opinion?
Yes, Senator, I do agree.
Okay. Okay. So let me go to the water. I don't know if you're aware that 60% of the water that CUC produces is unaccounted for. Are you aware, Rufo, on that?
I'm familiar with some of those reports,
Yeah.
yes.
So if you get in there, and we know, I think the committee feels comfortable with your appointment. We're very grateful again for your acceptance. Can you look into that 60% wastewater, water that's unaccounted for? I know that there is a grant from US EPA, if you're not aware. It's called Sustainable Water Infrastructure Management Program, SWIMS. I'm just alarmed at this high unaccounted for. That means that we use power, pumps, and what have you to actually produce this amount of water, and then 60% of it goes to waste. And if I'm not mistaken, in setting the rates for electricity and even for water, there's accounted for in there the cost of electricity, right? They have a electrical whatever cost to produce the water, and so it seems like our people are paying for I don't know if that translates to at least 50%, right? Of producing water that's not that you're not. So if you buy 1 gallon, it means you're paying for 2 gallons at least, right? So that's kind of like should be a major concern by CUC. You
I
agree,
agree.
right? You used to work for the OPA, no, Rufo, no? Okay, so I know that OPA came out with an audit, I believe in 2017 of CUC, and one of the recommendation is that the I guess CUC and the legislature should look at how to maybe recreate a body that's independent, less interference by the legislature or politics. And as a result, actually, I have reintroduced a legislation that I have keep reintroducing every legislature. I think it's the third or fourth time. It's now number 2329. I hope you would have the opportunity to review that, and I understand CUC has copies of this, and I appreciate any recommendation. This actually came about from the recommendation of OPA. I I I hope to see it pass this legislature, hopefully within this year. But again, this came about because of OPA report number AR 17-02. So I appreciate you can look at that. And this is actually to create an elected consolidated board. So it's just one board, but two agencies under it, basically um tailored after Guam, almost like Guam's CCU. So I hope you can have the opportunity soon to review it so we can deliberate on it and hopefully pass it in the Senate and the House. I know the House counterpart, Chairman Vince Ordan, is in support. It's just a matter now of whether to make it corporation to separate water and wastewater. But I hope you would have the opportunity to look over that. Um, Rufo, I'm concerned with the projects, the number of projects that are before CUC. One of them is from the bipartisan infrastructure law. Are you aware that there's and I'm just reading it from their citizen centric here that they have been allotted 21 million per year for the next 5 years. So that's a substantial amount. I think a big help, and I know there are other grants, federal grants out there also. I believe with OPD for sanitary landfill and another funding to address the stipulated orders. And so I'm concerned that there's not enough. I mean, the CUC hasn't been really aggressive in hiring these engineers and technical people at CUC. So, do you have any comment on that issue regards?
Well, I'm not familiar with that at this point, but I too would share that concern if there's no movement in the projects. Um, we know that if you don't use these fundings, they're susceptible to be lost now. Um,
and delays in projects and increase in prices, right?
Are costly, yes.
Costly, yeah. And as far as the procurement, though, I know, having worked at OPA, there seems to be issues of the issues not only in CUC but other corporations and agencies. Is that something you learned that is concerning at CUC also?
In my experience over there, there was I didn't have such a hard time with the procurement, but I was only there for 2 years. So, but I didn't have much issues with procurement during my experience with CUC. Even while I was in OPA for 2 years, there was hardly any appeals that we were receiving for that. We received some, but not voluminous enough for me to be getting involved. But I'm concerned that that it is rising.
Yeah, all over the government agencies, protests after protests, and their projects are being held up in these protests, right? And sometimes I just don't understand why they can't make it very simple and just move on with the projects. I hope that I know with your experience and your background that you can help a lot in this area, and something you should maybe get yourself more involved when you get into CUC. Uh, there's protests everywhere. Um, with the Agweco, are you familiar with the Agweco temporary contract, emergency contract at CUC?
I'm aware they're the temporary providers of.
Yeah, their contract is coming up, right? That's
I read that in the newspaper as well.
yeah. I'm trying to look for it, but somewhere here it says 300,000. Is that right? 300,000 a year?
I think I read a month. No.
Oh, is it a month, right? I'm
No,
sorry,
no.
300,000 a month. That's almost 4 million a year. Again, please look into that. Those all translates to higher utility rates, right? I mean, I can understand 1 year, 2 years, but 3 years, and so it's expiring soon. So what's the plan, right?
Yes.
What's the plan? We need a plan since 4 years ago,
It's become a base now.
Yeah. So I hope you can look into that line, Rufo.
I will send it.
Um, of course, I don't want to dwell on solar. It's been discussed every year, year after year. But that's something that maybe the legislature at another opportunity can bring in CUC, and we can talk more about that. I just I'm gonna you for now. I have other questions, but before you, I just want to ask this for you to please look into the, I believe, 300 voucher that they gave out to some customers. I believe some of them were like getting it, and then they moved to other apartments or residents, and now CUC is taking months to actually figure that out. That shouldn't be hard, right? If the account number remains the same, it's just a different physical location, but account numbers are the same. And my office is getting call on issues like that. So, Madam Chair, I'm gonna you for now for you and the other members. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mrs.
Senator
Mossett.
Paul. I recognize Senator Donald Minglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Mr. Mafnas, as well as everyone present here today. Just a few questions in regards to your professional experiences. I'm looking at your resume. It seems like a lot of these positions that you held in these different agencies ranges between 1 to 2 years, and I'm just trying to figure out whether you've switched jobs because of professional growth, or have there been any instances where things didn't work out for particular reasons?
It was by choice. Yes, it was professional growth. I thought that I could try and learn as much about everything in the government, and so I took it upon myself to keep moving as far as I can. And in the end, I decided to go private after that.
Okay. And you're still with these two organizations that you listed as being a member of, R&R and UMDA?
I am. I'm
Both
still-
of these
yes.
entities. What happened between 2005 to 2009? There seems to be a gap.
I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't. 2005 and where?
From you ended your time with OPA in 2005, and then 2009 you started as a controller.
I was running R&R and my own professional business.
Okay. And the companies that you listed on your financial statement, none of these companies do business with CUC?
Would you happen to have the list in front of you?
Big Sands, TLA, Villa de Guadalupe.
No, they don't do business with CUC.
Okay.
They're consumers now.
Okay. And what is your understanding on net metering? Sorry, switching gears.
Well, net metering, I understand to be the ability of a household or a solar or wind, and any excess is used, not used by that consumer. It's passed on over to the utility agency as a offset to their own billings.
Okay. Do you know, have you heard of any issues with residential customers when dealing with net metering?
I know that there's been moratoriums for certain locations. I don't know the reasoning behind that, except they're trying. I understand it's base load related, but I'm not uncertain. I'm just
Okay.
guessing at this point.
Thank you. Did you happen to watch the hearing on a previous nominee to the CUC board as well?
If you're referring to Mr. Itubus, yes, I did.
And did you hear about the notice that was given out that's requiring customers to sign
Oh,
that they
yeah.
cannot complain? And
Yes,
what are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was funny.
Mhm.
They shouldn't be doing something like that. They're ratepayers. They
Okay.
deserve the product that they bought.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, other than that, I know you did some work with the Department of Finance. Is that correct? Recently, in regards to the reconciliation of some of their.
I did some volunteer works.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you still doing work, volunteer work with the
No,
Department
my
of
work
Finance?
was specific to providing the format. I think the agency should try and use in communicating the ARPA stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you still assisting with anything
At
else?
this point, no.
Okay, thank you. I am impressed with your resume as well as the testimonies that were given today. What I do hope and what I wanted to bring up is that should you get confirmed, there are certain things that I hope you look at, and so these are things that were brought up by our Rhoda constituents, in the sense that in dealing with the CUC issues, there seems to be disparities with the pay between Rhoda employees versus Saipan employees. I also know that we've lost a few employees to Saipan because Saipan offers more opportunities for growth or more opportunities for pay increases. I know about one or two individuals that applied for the same position title in Rhoda. They didn't get it, but when they came to Saipan, they got it due to some requirement issues. I know that, and also there seems to be a lot of disparities with the responsibilities based on the job description of the employees on Rhoda versus those on Saipan. So I hope that's something that you look into and try to I guess just make it equal across the board, and if that's something that you need to work with the management about, then we'll be here to assist. I know Senator Paul, since he's the chair for PUTC, and it sounds like he'll be scheduling meetings in the near future with the CUC. There are more matters we can bring up then, but I just wanted to state for the record. And one more thing to look into until our next meeting, if that happens, is Public Law 1862. This is a renewable energy, inclusive of the net metering. It's to amend the standard for the renewable energy portfolio for electrical power producers and to amend 4 CMC 8532 to authorize the installation of net energy metering for all eligible residential customer generators. But one of the amendment that was made to this statute was that each electric utility shall establish a renewable portfolio standard of 20% of its net electricity sales on or before December 31st, 2016. This bill was never amended thereafter or repealed, and so I just wanted to see what the status is with that. And this is where they added the amendment on the net metering, and so I hope that's something that you can look into as well. Thank you. I yield at this time.
Thank you, Senator Manglona. Recognize Senator Dennis Mandiola.
Just one more question for me, pretty much. I just wanted to know if I saw on your resume that you worked in CUC previously, and given the opportunity now, if confirmed, what would you like to see differently?
Not sure I know. Without really restudying, it's been 20 years since my last encounter with CUC, other than being a consumer and what you read in the newspapers. I guess what I'd like to see is, as I mentioned earlier, is the transparency of rates. It is really important that we get a lot more brain power behind this. Brain power to critique and be critical of our decisions with rate settings. It affects everybody that we encounter. And so that really is my goal, is to try and make sense and make sure that we're not charging more than we should.
Thank you for that. Madam Chair, you for now.
Thank you, Senator Mandiola. I guess it's my turn. One of the things I wanted to mention was that I'm glad you mentioned that you were mystified about the rates being charged by CUC, because as an accountant, if you found that mysterious, imagine how we feel and how frustrated other ratepayers are. So I'm glad you're looking into the formula or calculations to what appears in our utility bills. And I know we can't ask you questions in depth of CUC operations because you haven't sat in any board meetings. Is that correct? Since you've
Correct.
been nominated.
I haven't sat in any.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we try to ask you, but I know we can't because you haven't experienced it yet, at least, or gotten back into it to understand what is happening now versus what was your last experience as an employee. But I would like to ask you, since you've been nominated and have discerned the possibility of being confirmed by the Senate, what would be your 3 priorities as a policymaker of the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation Board?
Well, I've mentioned rates.
Okay.
In along those lines, these new renewable energy that has been talked about over here. If you look to our neighbors in the south, they're way ahead of us. They've got 60 megawatts online, and probably another 60 megawatts to come online soon, for a total of 120. So renewable energy would be one of those. But and stability of the utility is very important to me also. I mean, we can have cheap rates tomorrow, but if we can't have stable power, it's not. It won't work. Not to always look down at Guam or look to Guam, but even them, they're starting a new base load. They Ukudon, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but they have a. I'm reading more about power in the neighboring islands of what they're doing, what their successes are, and so we probably can mimic some of those or improve on those. So I think those are my primary goals if I should be so lucky.
Thank you. Earlier, Senator Paul mentioned about a bill he has introduced in the last 3 legislatures at least. It's a bill to separate the power and water divisions into separate agencies. Can you lend us your thoughts on that type of an agency where they report 2 different agencies actually report to one board?
Well, I haven't read it completely. I started reading it, and so I'm beginning to understand the logic behind it. I do think that there's some merit with regards to separating them, primarily because they're both important. One's not more important than the other, and sometimes you lose sight of if you have to weigh between the two. Between the 2 utilities, sometimes you have to make choices now, and we prefer not to be in that situation. So there's some merits to this splitting of the utility.
Understood. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe one of the merits is that you don't, in separating them, is that you don't necessarily have to sacrifice the needs of one to accommodate the other, as it currently is right now with having both of them under one roof. Would you say that would be an accurate assumption of?
I would say.
Okay, thank you. In 2017, the Office of Public Auditor released a management audit report, and that's the report that Senator Paul was alluding to. And some of the findings of that audit include a long history of political interference with previous governors, legislatures, including the board of directors, including changes to the minimum requirements, qualification requirements of the executive director, changes to, and OPA further found that there were insufficient revenues. That's one of their findings in that report, which ultimately led to, or previously it led to the federal stipulated order by EPA and the U.S. Department of Justice. In recent months, the transition report identified 11 outstanding compliance issues with 2 federal stipulated orders. The stipulated order was entered into in 2009, And 14 years, we are now at the 14th year mark. And we still have 11 outstanding violations or issues with that have not been compliant with the stipulated order. And I wanted to bring that to your attention so that you could possibly look into that should you be confirmed. And Senator Paul also alluded to the fact that only 37% of drinking water produced, pumped, and chlorinated by CUC is being billed to customers. So we have a total of 63% that we're losing revenue on. That's also a serious concern. So in fact, CUC is losing approximately 200 million gallons per month of produced water. And that's associated with water leaks, water theft, and failed water meters. And that's revenue that we're not, or CUC is not collecting. And in times like this, where we're facing a fiscal crisis, that would certainly be of great help to CUC so that it doesn't pass on those charges to the ratepayers. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the $50 million debt that CHCC owes to CUC. That has been a long-standing issue between the two agencies. They have not, as far as I know, have not come to resolving that anytime soon. So I hope you give that priority too. And as far as the executive director position, some of the issues that have been raised in the past is the salary. And I think it's at a decent salary right now, but I wanted to relate to you that we are here to help any agencies. And if it means we have to raise the salary for qualified directors to bring our agencies in line and to comply with the stipulated order so that we don't have that hanging over our heads anymore, let us know. We are here to, our doors are open to accommodate some, requests from agencies. And I really don't have any questions for you. I know you haven't been in there to attend any of the board meetings yet to know what the issues are they are currently facing, other than trying to fill the positions that the stipulated order requires. If there are no other questions from the other members, I recognize Senator Paul Manglonia.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask if you're aware, do they have a quorum at CUC now? Or do we have?
I'm not sure.
Because we haven't confirmed Itibus, right? So I'm not sure. Rhoda nominee also. So the three?
There's three.
I see. Okay. Are the three of you in the process of hiring a permanent executive director? Or CUC in the process? Anybody know? I guess I'm trying to get at, I guess that we should put out an announcement, right, for an executive director, or I don't know if the present board have already appointed an individual, but that's a very key position. And, with the stipulated order and the challenges before CUC, and I hope you can play a role in that process and selection also.
I do too.
I don't have a question, but we were talking about unaccounted for water. I just want you to know, because I know you don't go down to Rhoda a lot, but on Saipan, we're losing 60%. On Rhoda, we're losing 300%. in that we don't really have to use electricity to produce the water. It's all gravity flow from the water cave, which is maybe 800 above sea level, 800 feet above sea level, and it just goes around to Sinapolo. But I mention it because you also have a 1 million-gallon tank right above the village on Rhoda, and it's I believe CUC has deserted it, and I think it's incumbent upon CUC to at least do something about it, work with the mayor's office so we can maybe transition it to a water district that can use that for agricultural purposes in the eastern side of Rhoda, right? But we surely need your CUC's assistance to with your employees to transition it to the mayor's office in such a ways when you know that there's so much water being wasted. They just go down the river to the ocean. And speaking of water district, we can work with the mayor to put up a 1 million-gallon water tank in Sinapalo before you get to the water tank that is being treated, where water is being treated for distribution in the village. I mean, it's just such a waste of water when you don't have to put in a penny to produce it other than pipeline maintenance. So I bring this up so you're aware of this, and it's there, and CUC doesn't have any plans. And in fact, in Sierra Paulo, they actually built a water tank where 10% of the houses in Sierra Paulo are located above the water level, right? So now they have to pump it up. I know this is in Rhoda, but I think they could have better planning in CUC, and also that they have to put the water tank somewhere between water cave and the highest house in the village, elevation. So in future planning for water storage, they should look into the elevation aspect. But I'm sure that they can put a water tank there before the water treatment area to be used by the farmers in Sinapolo. And I hope you could work with our future CUC representative in Rhoda to make that a side project that will go a long way. In everything is expensive in Rhoda, and here's water that's not being produced. We don't need electricity to produce it, and at least have our people benefit from that. So again, I appreciate your accepting this appointment. I think that the people of the cinema will benefit tremendously.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other members? No. Mr. Mafnas, you are hereby excused.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you and good afternoon. I just wanted to mention that it would be the privilege of this committee to recommend the confirmation of Mr. Rufo T. Mafnas to serve as a board member of CUC. Thank you, sir. Moving on, we have miscellaneous. Does any member, I recognize Senator Donald Minglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I think if I can recommend that we push all, we'll go through the list one more time of all remaining nominees, and anyone that may be in conflict with the member that would need the full Senate action, that we proceed with the placing them on the next Senate session so that we can act on those nominees. Additionally, it's confirmed that the recessed Fiscal Affairs Committee will reconvene its meeting Saturday at 1 p.m. Be mindful that the Youth Congress is having its inauguration in the morning. So if you're in the building, you can show your support in the morning there, and then we'll meet here in the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, and excellent recommendation on pushing through with nominees who may have conflicts of interest with the members of the EAGI committee, and we will certainly do so when we come across that. Are there any other members? Recognized Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Madam Chair, just wanted to put it on the record that I will be gone for the next week. So if we have any schedule, please, I'm asking for this body to excuse me for the next week.
Thank you, duly noted. Anybody else? If not, I would like to recognize Senator Donald Manglonia for the proper motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Madam Chair, I hereby move for the adjournment of today's meeting.
Motion has been made and it has been seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? Not. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This meeting is hereby adjourned. It is 11 p.m.